I remember getting in trouble when I was in first grade for selling pornographic pictures. I had been exposed to pornography with my older brother and his older friend who had found his dad's stash, and we had a fort across the road from us in an empty lot where we kept the magazines. For some reason, when I saw those images, it just coded me, like something happened inside of me. And obviously I thought they were valuable because I was bringing them to school and trying to sell them. When I gave my life to Christ, He freed me from so much. I mean, I was a complete addict. I couldn't go any time sober. For years and years, for nearly a decade, I had to stay sober, or I had to stay high, I should say, and I couldn't get sober. And I just constantly I just had to get loaded, or else I wanted to kill myself. I just hated my life. I hated who I was. I hated how this world was. And when I gave my life to Christ, it was like this amazing moment where He just freed me. I'm talking like I couldn't go a moment sober to all of a sudden I was like, yes, Jesus. And I woke up the next day and I never wanted to get loaded, get drunk ever again. In fact, after I said yes to Jesus, I smoked a joint with a friend one time, and it was just terrible. And I used to smoke so much weed, and and I would start to, I was drinking a little bit after, and I'd get a buzz, and I was just like, what is this? And I used to live for that buzz. And there was just such freedom. It was this amazing, something I could never overcome. And I was like, this is awesome, Jesus, thank you. But then I just kept struggling with porn, except for now, instead of loving it, I hated it and despised everything it was. But for some reason, there was this part of me, there was this little boy, trapped inside that I don't know what would happen, but whenever I would see porn, it was like something awoke inside of me, something was made right inside of me, something felt good. I felt like a man, I felt like things were okay, and it just really just messed with me because I hated it so much, but I loved it so much. And it was this battle that just went on for years, but I just couldn't have any victory. And it's like, as much as I fought, it just kept coming and kept coming, and I would cry out to God, God, why can't I be free from this? You set me free from addiction. You set me free from this dark oppression. You set me free, but why can't I be free from this, Lord? And I would cry out to Him, and I would cry out to Him, and I'd cry out to Him, and there it was, and there it was. So ultimately, years later, Bethany and I got engaged, and I was brutally honest with Bethany, and I told her just right up, I was like, look, I've struggled with this for years. It's been in my life since, it's like one of my first memories, literally, and I just don't know, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm never going to look at it again, and if, like Paul says, if you're consumed with lust, take a wife, or if I'm going to look at it all the time. I just don't know, but I knew that I needed to be honest with her before she said, I do. The first part of our marriage was good. I mean, it was months, and I think it was 5 months before I struggled, and I don't really remember, I know that things were very intense at that time. We were really broke. It was just a struggle. Bethany got pregnant a month and a half, 2 months after we got married. I was about to become a dad. I was a new husband. I was trying to start this business and not making any money. And so I was just struggling. And in that, I think that I went back, just to something that made me feel like a man for a moment. And when I told Bethany, I knew that it was it was going to break her heart. And I think the first few times I told her, she was just like, oh, it's okay. I love you. Everything's going to be great. But then over time, it just started to wear at her, and it started to wear at her, and she was like, this idea she had that it was going to be okay just was starting to just crumble and crumble and crumble. And then she was faced with the reality of it. And someone who struggled with image, for Bethany, for me to have this struggle, looking at women lustfully, and her struggle being one of, am I enough? I'm not like that girl on the billboard. I'm not super skinny. I don't look like that. That struggle constantly stirred her up and stirred her up and stirred her up, and then her struggle got worse and worse and worse. And my struggle got worse and worse and worse, and then next thing you know, there we were in these moments of marriage just going, crap, like, crap, like, how are we going to get through this? Because, like, I don't want to do it and I can't stop, our aftermath story of God's redemption, we're actually a week away from celebrating our 11th anniversary. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the aftermath story is amazing, of what God's going to do in your marriage, in your life, in your marriage, that you're, that you're engaged, to go wherever your story is. God can do amazing things. He works all things together for good to those that love him and are called according to his purpose, which means that even pornography is a tool in his hand to accomplish his will. And so in this journey that we're inviting you into, we're not just going to be talking about just, how to stop doing it, but how to live a full, radical, abundant life in the Lord and have a marriage that's amazing. That ends up way better than you could have ever imagined, and intimacy way better than you could have ever imagined, and freedom from things like you could never imagine. And so this journey is going to invite you in to this radical place of seeing God's redemptive story work out in your marriage, in your life, preparing you for your marriage, or even in your failures. If you're divorced now and your wife left you, or your husband left you because of pornography, God is not done with you yet. And he's not done with this story. And if you're willing to fight and believe for the amazing things it says in Scripture, he could do exceedingly abundantly beyond all that you ask or think. And he will use even pornography to accomplish his radical will.